Yeah, what an awesome college basketball atmosphere and game. Iowa State's obviously got a great team, a physical team, a mature team, and just TJ Otzelberger's done an awesome job. And you could see the grit that they play with, especially down the stretch. And man, I loved a lot of the things that we did as a team tonight or this afternoon. But when it got down to winning time and just the possessions as the game went on, I thought you could just sense their urgency of getting paint touches and putting us right next to the rim. And we weren't making them shoot fadeaway threes to beat us. I mean, they really put it on us, got to the free throw line and made them, and then got to the rim or got offensive rebounds. I mean, we did out-rebound them. We had 15 offensive rebounds, or 16, that is, for the game. We turned it over 15 times, but it was just the way they caved us in really was the difference in the game. Their physical downhill mentality and their ability to turn us over and make us play away from the basket. And we had to make some pretty difficult shots, and they were making shots at the basket. So give them all the credit. Thought they came in here and beat us.
Coach, what is this game and the closeness of this game, being able to fight versus Iowa State, show you for what you need further on this year?
Well, I mean, I've been in this league for about 10 years as a player and a coach, and just the margin of victory in these games is always, at the end of the year when you look at the numbers, it's just a little over a possession, really. So I think the urgency that I'm trying to communicate with our team is how can we do the things and the scrap defensively needed to win these games. I mean, you can look at a lot of missed whatever, but really what it comes down to is, do we have the urgency and the ability to get stops when it really matters? That's what that's where I just feel like we've got the greatest growth to make.
And talk about the development you've seen in Christian and his play, and how he was, when Hawkins did get in foul trouble, the ability of being able to step in.
Yeah, no, we've trusted him from the beginning. I mean, his ability to get in middle ball screens, and that's where Iowa State is a unique team. I mean, you don't want to play on the side of the floor against them because they do such a good job of keeping it over there, and they bully you to the baseline with their size at all their positions. So we try to play in the middle of the floor, and I think just Christian's really good there. I mean, he's special good there. And the more we can get him involved in those actions in the middle of the floor, the better off we're going to be. But what I love about Christian is he doesn't back down. I mean, you can go watch this game, and I'll go watch it back. But he was throwing his body around in there at the end of the game as a freshman and putting his hands on some basketballs, like he dove on that ball that was a shot clock violation. I mean, that's what I love about him. He's just one of those guys that loves to play. He'll go play one-on-one if you want to play one-on-one. He's a basketball player, man, in every sense. And so his best days are ahead of him. There's no question about that.
Hawkins missed a big stretch of the second half with foul trouble. How did that affect your offense? It looked like you sort of hit a little bit of a lull there.
Yeah, with their ball pressure, just gives you that other ball handler that can get downhill. And, I thought he even made such a great play toward the end of the game where he got them on their heels and pitched it back, and JT had a good look. I mean, it's just those kind of penetration against the game that applies that much physical play on the ball. You just got to be able to get in the paint, and his ability to do that and take the load off of us really having him out of the game really hurt us.
And you mentioned them being able to sort of cave you in, just going downhill, particularly towards the very end of regulation and the very end of overtime. Was there any consideration play to maybe put Fede in and maybe just for defensive and rebounding purposes?
Yeah, definitely there was. I mean, huge part of the game, and we talked about it just about in every timeout. Like how do we especially with a timeout, having him in the game for a rim presence and, for rebounding. And honestly, they had 4 guards for a majority of it. They went with a big lineup kind of there at the very last one. But we thought we knew what they were going to be able to do, and we liked the matchup of it. I mean, we basically said they're going to throw it in and throw it into the post, and D5 was on him, and we just didn't front it like we needed to and let him throw it in there. And then he just got fouled. They called a foul on us. So there was definitely consideration, and it was strongly considered, and felt like we were going to roll with that group for offensive purposes.
Coach, the timeouts when you were ahead, could you talk about your philosophy there and why you took those timeouts, particularly when you were just ahead?
Well, the biggest thing was just to set our defense. I mean, you looking back at a few of these games, we lack experience. Like, let's just take halftime, for example. Christian Anderson was out there at the point, and without Elijah Hawkins, and he jumped out of bounds to throw that ball in bounds before we were set up. And it just feels like with this team, we don't have a lot of Big 12 experience at the guard positions, especially the ones that are out there. So it's helpful for us to be able to set our defense. And, man, we just needed one miss and to figure out a way. But you got to make people miss in this league, and didn't feel like we did that adequately.
What did you see from the last play defensively of regulation that allowed Jefferson to get that game-tying one at the buzzer?
Yeah, I mean, we basically they tried that to post up the inbounder, and it was just the last thing we said. Just don't let the ball go into the post. Don't let them throw it into the post. Make them reverse it and make them throw a high-low. And, they pitched the ball in, and he just beat D5 to the spot and caught it and made a play at the basket.
Do you consider this taking a step back from what you guys did in Utah, or just a setback? Or this game, you can take some stuff from it, but it's not a huge warning?
Oh, you know what this is, man. It's the Big 12, man. I mean, you better take the things that are good and better figure out. I know everybody's going to talk about the result. I look at the result. It's important. Winning and losing is what matters and how we get judged in this. But I just told them in the locker room, I got to feel that we're still trying to decide if offense is going to dictate what we do defensively. That's what it feels like. And I'm going off the intensity that it takes to win in this league. Not win some games, but win the whole thing. There just has to be such a different level of urgency to how we compete on every possession. And I thought we ran up against a team that does that for the most part. I mean, I do think they got holes in some spots that we were able to take advantage of. But when the game was on, they were definitely the more physically urgent team to attack the basket. We did look like we were trying to figure out if we could do this, honestly. And they did not. They looked like that they were going to make this. They were going to win this game. And I've been on both sides of it, man. And won conference championships with a record of 16-2. And I've had a team that we knew we were going to win no matter what it took because of the scrap level of the guys looking at each other and the experience that they'd had together playing. And it looks like our team's getting there. And I'm just going off my feel of it. I do feel like we're moving in the right direction. So are there possessions I'm going to have some real difficult time going to bed about tonight? 100%. But we are moving that direction with the belief that it takes and the scrap level that it takes to be great.
But you also always talk about protecting home court, especially in conference play, and then trying to steal some on the road. Does that make a game like Tuesdays even more of an emphasis? You got to step back here. You got to go take one now.
Man, I just feels like you're always taking them. I mean, honestly, I don't even know how to look at it. I don't look at anything other than where we are right now and how do we win the next one. So I've been a junior college coach where I sat there and I was like, well, if we win this one, we win this one. And every second I did that was the time we were wasting time. So I'm going to figure out how to get this team better, and we'll figure out how we can go scrap and get better tomorrow. And that's what I told them in the locker room. I just want there to continue to be a different level of fight to the way we compete defensively. That's what we'll need. And I got to sub better. I didn't do a good job subbing today. I got to help our team with that.
Coach, could you touch on what JT was able to do early on in the game and then how he was able to fight through the lower body injury?
Yeah, I was thrilled with JT. He came out and got after it early, and I thought our game plan to take advantage of what they were doing was tremendous. And, his urgency early, and he's got some possessions too defensively where he was good, but he was a part of the getting caved process, and that's where having him in practice is really helpful. And we lost him basically for a good stretch there, and I thought he was actually making strides before it happened. Not offensively, but if you go back and look at those games, he was actually getting way better defensively in the way he was moving. So I'm thrilled with the fact he came back in the game though. Because he got it pretty good. He got his ankle pretty good. And for his grit to go back in there and want to play I thought it was great.
Lastly, could you just touch on how Christian was able to handle their ball pressure? I know that you mentioned the lull offensively, but I thought that he, was able to get to the next action a little bit and keep you guys on schedule offensively.
Yeah, no, Christian's tremendous in his ability to manipulate ball screens in the middle of the floor. And, it's the in-between stuff that where you play against these teams where they side you and they push you out, and man, you can see his process is just growing and his learning is just growing. And every game he steps in there with a different level of confidence, and we've got to keep utilizing his strengths and help him improve, because he's a guy that more than offensively, I just think he's got the savvy and the grit to be what it takes to be a great defender in our league too. And I love that about him. I mean, he ended up with a couple steals. He can get his hand on the basketball. He can rebound. I mean, he's one of those guys that I think can do everything. But today he was great in the middle of the floor, helping us score and keep Iowa State on their heels. Thank y'all.